First up, though, let's talk about a really serious story. It hit the headlines yesterday. A British man, aged 76, David Hunter, was sentenced to 2 years behind bars for the manslaughter of his seriously ill wife in Cyprus. But he was released from custody due to time already served on remand waiting for his trial. He's a retired miner and he admitted suffocating his wife, Janice, of 52 years. She had blood cancer. He says she had begged him to end her life. But would he have got such leniency if he'd been tried here in the UK? Well, let's talk to his lawyer, Michael Polak, who joins us now and is a lawyer for the legal aid group Justice Abroad. Good morning to you, Michael.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, the whole story is just a horrible, horrible tragedy. Janice having blood cancer, wanting to end her life. He took her life. He told the court how he had strangled her. How he had killed her, and he attempted to take his own life. We know that their only child, their daughter, she had stood by her father throughout. I mean, there are no winners here, but how differently do you think this court case and this sentencing would have gone if it had happened here in the UK?
There are different peculiarities to the way we deal with these kind of cases and the way they deal with them here in Cyprus. In Cyprus, they have a criminal code from 1954, which sets out the different offences as premeditated murder. And David was facing a charge of premeditated murder. He was found not guilty of that 2 weeks ago, which is very important because he was found guilty of premeditated murder. He would have got a life sentence and died in prison here in Cyprus. So a step down is manslaughter. He was found guilty of manslaughter, but he admitted to that to the police when they attended the property and in court as well. So it was no surprise that he was found guilty of manslaughter. It was really what we were pushing for. In England and Wales, there's a defence when there's a suicide pact, which takes a murder automatically down to manslaughter. If there's a suicide pact and one person doesn't die, then it immediately goes down to manslaughter. Also, in our jurisdictions, we've got juries, and often juries feel sympathy for people in these kind of positions, and they won't find them guilty of murder in a number of cases. It's not a total protection because you never know what a jury's going to do, but often the jury will find people guilty of manslaughter instead in England and Wales, sometimes not guilty of everything.
And don't you think that juries in this country, representative of, I served on a jury only a few months ago myself. I found it to be an incredibly, very emotional experience actually to have that responsibility in my hands, and I know the other jurors felt the same way, but also the common sense of 12 men and women true, making a judgment of people and what their real motivations are. Do you think that the juries, the ordinary members of the public, are actually ahead of the legislators, ahead of the courts, ahead of certainly our parliament in terms of what the law should be?
Well, I think with a matter such as euthanasia, there are strong arguments you can make against euthanasia. There's some strong arguments you can make for euthanasia. But when you step away from the theory of it and the morals of it, we all put ourselves in that position. What would we do when a loved one was in pain, was asking us to end their life, and kept on asking us to do so? And I think that's really where a jury is very powerful, because they bring that kind of personal feeling to temper the harshness perhaps of the law. But is that the solution? Should it be left down to jurors in those positions? And I was speaking about euthanasia yesterday, and you've got people who are against euthanasia saying it should not be allowed under any circumstances. But then when you really come down to it, is it not allowed for some? Because if you've got enough money, you can fly over to Switzerland and end your life. If you've got the right doctor who will give you painkillers, which are not aimed at ending your life, but have that effect. So it just leaves some people without that protection. When we criminalize certain things, often it's not effective, and it means that people who don't have the money or don't have the contacts end up dying really painful deaths.
And their family members facing this ordeal when they're grieving. I mean, certainly both David and indeed his daughter, who stood by her father, this is Leslie Cawthorne, said they can only now finally start to grieve for her mother's loss. Michael Polak, I really appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much indeed. It's a really important case. He's lawyer for David Hunter, now freed from jail, I think quite rightly, in Cyprus. I appreciate that.